It's Friday, and I'm back with the next in our Fanzine Friday series. We're starting a new fanzine today. This is called the Doombook of Chaos. There are 6 of these in all. We're starting today with Doombook of Chaos number 1. Please stick around. I'm AZ Mountaineer, and this is our channel, Old School Rules, where we celebrate the community of old school gamers and grognards who like classic RPGs, miniatures, magazines, and everything that goes with it. Each week on the Fanzine Friday series, we take a fanzine from my collection off the shelf for a closer look. Today, it's Doombook of Chaos number 1 from 1981. Hope you enjoy today's video. So today we're starting a new fanzine series. This one is called the Doombook of Chaos. It comes to us from a couple of contributors from the UK, just 2 guys, Brad Bennett and Jonathan Irwin. This one is just regular paper. The cover's not heavy stock, it's just regular paper folded in half, kind of the size we're used to. This one is not dated at all, so I sort of back into the idea that this comes out, the first issue came out in 1981 based on a couple issues later. They talk about a couple of new released products, and a couple of pieces of art have the date 81 penciled into them, so I'm just sort of guessing that that's probably the year that the first one came out as well. This one very much, you can tell, is the product of just a couple of folks from what's in here, but nonetheless, I appreciate the enthusiasm of what they've done, and I think this one's going to be a lot of fun to talk about. So here's our cover. This is Brad's drawing. Most of the art, I think, in here is his, and he's got this crazy looking figure on the front, which is what sort of drew me to the series in the first place. No idea what this is, just some silly art that he's got on there. Let's talk about what's in the inside. They talk a little bit about their intent in forming the fanzine. They've got things from the Crypt, that's new monsters, D&D editions, which are some new rule discussion, Tales from Morak, that's I guess fiction. It's like a story about their campaign, more or less, told in a story narrative format. New classes. The new class here is the Jester. Special monster number 1, which is another monster feature, I guess. Thun, which is a part of their campaign. In this instance, it's a city that they go into great detail about. Scrolls from the Mystics and new spells, I think, and Tome of Darkness, which is an idea for how they run their campaign. They've just gotten into Runequest, and so they talk about sort of a blended way, a rule system that they're using, and they talk about how they run that. As I mentioned, we've just got the 2 contributors here who obviously play D&D together. They say in the beginning they want to cover lots of different types of rule sets and information about different types of games, but everything in here is basically D&D related, and I think that remains the primary focus of the fanzine going forward. Okay, things from the Crypt. These are their new monsters. So we've got the X-ray Wraith. They say it is a flickering green light with 2 patches of intense flashing light. It basically zaps you with X-rays. You can become sterile if you fail your save versus magic. That's its X-ray damage. You have to save versus system shock or die when you get zapped, and it does D10 of X-ray damage, and it drains a level. So it's pretty dangerous creature. Armor class 0, 8 hit die. Immune to sleep, paralysis, charm, and lightning, and only half damage from heat or cold. And normal and silver weapons can't damage it at all. So it's pretty tough. The next one I like quite a lot. It's called the Atomic Mole, and these are like moles, like the little creatures that live underground. So you find them in dungeons shuffling along the corridors. They've been essentially radiated, and they're ticking atomic bombs. So they're fine if you leave them alone, but if you either poke them with a weapon or you pick them up, they explode. They do 10d6 damage, and then that goes down by 1 point for every 10 feet away you are, or every foot away you are. And if one of these explodes and you've determined that there's more than one of them around, it'll set off the other one as well, so you can get this chain reaction. Now they only say typically 1 to 3 appearing, so that's not horribly damaging, but it could be devastating to a lower level party for sure. Now, weapons won't hurt them, they say, if you're trying to attack them. Like I said, I would make it that weapons would pierce them and explode them. I don't know why picking them up would cause them to explode if poking them with a spear or sword would not, but they say basically their thought is they're immune to attacks, but then if you pick them up to look at them, they explode. I don't know why. But next we have the Shadow Wyvern. 5 to 7 hit dice, 1 to 3 appearing, 1 attack does it. The bite does 1 to 10, claws do 1 to 8, or alternate, it can try to sting you with the tail, but it's either or. If you look at it, it can temporarily petrify you for 1 to 6 turns, but it's sort of a spirit, so it can pass through walls and doors, and you need at least +3 enchanted weapons or silver to hit it. So it's a pretty tough creature. They have something called the Hell Mummy, and it's basically on fire. It looks like a mummy, except for it's sort of glowing an orange color, and I would probably have a little bit of flame flickering after it. It can't be damaged by fire. If it hits you, it'll drain you a level and do 1 to 10 points of burning damage, and 25% chance that flammable material such as a cloak, robes, paper, whatever it touches could catch on fire. Other than that, they look like normal mummies. The Ghost Lion, so it looks like a lion, but it's also a ghost spirit. If it hits you, it can drain a point of your constitution. It can roar, causing fear. They basically say these are lion spirits that inhabit like jungles, temples, ruins, stuff like that, where they would normally have lived. Your constitution drain will return at the rate of 1 point per week. And then dwarves have special immunity, immune to any poison attack, immune to the 50% chance to be immune to the constitution drain. And the bite of this lion does 1 to 10 damage plus 46 poison, half if you save. So that's pretty tough. I'm not sure why the spirit creature is poisonous, but that's what they say. And finally, the Flayer, sort of not a mind flayer, more like a roper or a stroper, I guess. It has long whipping tentacles with razor-like blades basically at the end. 1 to 10 whips will be hit or attack the party in a given turn, and each of those does 1d8 if it hits. And if wounded, it will let out a scream and deafen anything within 100 feet for 1 to 6 hours. So that's sort of like a shrieker effect. They say this creature was the result of a malfunction when trying to create an iron golem. I'm not sure how it ended up being a multi-tentacled monster, but there it is. So these monsters, as they say, are all fairly powerful. What he said was that was intentional. This is basically for 4th, 5th level characters. He says that's generally when someone's like, you know what, we've seen everything before, we want something new, and so they've got these creatures in there. D&D additions. This is a special event chart, and basically what they're saying is when you're in a campaign setting in your home world, we would suggest you should roll a D12, and they've got a chart here for what happens. So every time your players come to town, here's a little something recent that might have happened. Anything from a raid to potential rumors of war. People are unhappy because of some governmental, taxes or whatever. They talk about maybe there's rumors of a Nazgul being around, which is fairly Tolkien-esque and not in the D&D rules per se. The peasantry are unhappy. An important person in town's recently been assassinated or attempted to be assassinated, or there's rumors of sort of orcs, goblins, whatever, on migration nearby. So giving you some stuff to look at. And then there's sort of normal events, because apparently it's rough living in these towns. And then if D12, you go to special events, like the entire city's been burned to the ground, the city's embroiled in a war with a neighboring town or neighboring community, giant orc migration has been moving through, destroying everything in its path, big fight between thieves guilds and the law in town, random monsters like giant ants are coming through, there's a plague, disease, famine, different things like that could be happening in your town. So I think the idea is good. I think the chart probably causes these kind of things to happen a little too frequently, because it's a 75% chance that some at least normal event would happen, and then it's 1 in 12 chance that a major event has happened. So it's a little probably too often, but otherwise good, I think. I mentioned Tales from Morak, which is the story of a little bit of something in their campaign, but it takes place in their home world, and that's why I wanted to show you this, because here's the map of their home world, and then at the top you'll see this little town. I can point to it right there, called Thun, which is where the city is going to come up later on in the fanzine, and then you can get a little bit of surrounding area. And then, so the story at least gives you a little bit of background if you wanted to use this as part of your home campaign. Okay, so here's a comic, or whatever you want to call this. It just says, if that's a wand of polymorphing, I'm a kobold, which of course apparently it is, and he turns into a kobold. So here's the new class, which is called the Jester. And it's funny because what he mentions is, because I was thinking, well, didn't they have this recently, about the same time period? And he said, yeah, they did. I've heard all about it. I can't get a copy of the Dragon magazine, so I decided to make it up for myself. The reviews from what I heard was people didn't like the Dragon magazine version anyway, so I figured I might as well give it my own best shot. This is not a great character class in terms of design. I think it's overpowered. We'll talk a little bit about it. He's got his table there. He doesn't even give it experience points. He just lists the table. I think he says they use the thief's experience point table. They have a chance of earning, which is basically the chance to go out into the street and earn money. He talks a little bit about that. It's not all that helpful for a campaign setting, but anyway, it gives them that ability. And then he gives them a new ability every level. First, they can do some sleight of hand tricks, minor, and then next level major. Then they can do tumbling activities, which gives them a bonus to their agility and dexterity for other uses, I think, as well. Then they can use start off on using a dagger. Fourth level, they can use a rapier, and they get thief abilities as if they were a first level thief. And every other level of Jester, they get an extra level of thief. So 6th level, 2nd level thief, 8th level, 3rd level thief, etc. 5th level, they can throw their voice and do voice impersonations. 6th level, they get 1st level illusionist spells. And each level after that, they can add another 1st level spell that they can cast each day. 7th level, use a scimitar, +2 at gambling, and they have a whole explanation about how to do gambling down below. 8th level, they get a 1st level druid spell and add one to their charisma. 9th level, another bonus on their gambling ability. 10th level, get a +1 with daggers, scimitars, and now they can use whips. 11th level, they get 2nd level illusionist spells, and now when they gain a level, they get a an additional 2nd level illusionist spell, and a 1st level magic user spell every day. 12th level, 2nd level druid spell, and another magic user spell each day, 1st level magic user spell each day. 13th, any other weapon now you can choose as proficiency, and another 1st level magic user spell every day. 14th, a 3rd level illusionist spell you can use every day, and then that's the end of the spell abilities. And then you can do the Great Jest, which is something which will cause anyone within hearing who can understand the language at least to be doing nothing but laughing at your incredible funniness for 2 to 5 melee rounds, unless they save versus spells. So that's the Jester class. Again, I appreciate the effort. I think it's clever. I just don't think it would be great in real life. Probably overpowered. Here's the special monster. No idea what makes it special versus the other monsters that were earlier, but that's the way they treat it. I like the monsters we had that do not like this. This is the Were Vampire, and the idea is to make one of the characters in your campaign the Were Vampire. Depending on the circumstances, you may or may not tell the player that he or she is the Were Vampire, and essentially he has this insatiable need to drink blood every so often, and he's going to kill other characters in the party. And the idea, I guess, is we'll see how long it takes for someone to figure that all out. He's got some statistics for it, and how it will die. Basically, if there's the full moon and he fails to drink blood that night, then in morning when sunrise comes up, he'll die. So that's one of the ways he can die. Again, I don't like these things where you get characters sort of negatively interacting with other characters. I don't think that's fun. That's just my personal opinion. Okay, the town of Thun. This is fantastic. and I'm going to show you the map here in a minute. He spells it out. He's got a town drawn. He numbers all the buildings, but he does not give you stats for all the buildings. So I thought that was an interesting approach, but he does for some. So here's a blown up picture of the map of the town. He's got a market plaza. You know, he's got the typical things. He's got places where the sort of town ruler lives, where the soldiers are housed. He's got his slum area, his, you know, red light district. Some things are just labeled houses, but then the numbers go up into like the 90s, but he doesn't give you nearly that many plugged in, which I thought was kind of interesting that he numbered them and yet didn't tell you what they all were. The ones that he does describe, I think, are really well done. He gives you just a little touch, person's name, what they do. He's got some very interesting NPCs, merchants, and things like that in here it was really well thought out. And so this was I give this, you know, this part of their fanzine a real A+ for these guys. And he's got some random encounter tables to use different places in the city. It has different charts as to what you might run into, and so it's all very well thought out. I think just the right balance between detail and information without making it, you know, overly cumbersome. So I think they really did a great job with the town of Thun. Okay, new spells. This is really good again. So the first one's called Spell Summoning. It's level 2 through 9 spell, and that would just be, you know, Spell Summoning 2, Spell Summoning 3 at each level of spell. And this Spell Summoning lets you, when it's cast, you recall any spell of a lower level that you have in your spell book. And he says you could do the same thing with clerical prayers as well. That's an interesting idea. And then the second one is called Spell Drain. It's a level 4 spell. Allows the magic user to take it in combat with another spellcaster, to take any spell that's half of the caster's level. So you're 6th level, you can take any 1st, 2nd, or 3rd level spell. And I guess the way it works is you pick a spell that you think the other caster might have. If you're right, you take that spell and then it comes into your mind, so now it's added to your repertoire, right? If not, if they didn't have that memorized, then the DM would roll and you would get a random spell that hadn't been cast yet by the other guy. So anyway, I think all in all, I like that quite a bit. I will mention, it's not shown in the video here, they also had an advertisement for something called Imago, a science fiction fanzine. And then they had the Tome of Darkness, Volume 1, Chapter 1, and this is his discussion of his home rules that blends D&D with Runequest, which he just got. Like a lot of people, I think Runequest was very popular in the UK. He likes its system better. I think the way I would describe it, seems like it's a little more open. So rather than being a fighter or a magic user cleric, you just learn, you pick skills, you give, you gain level, you sort of give bonuses to those skills, and you can really have a complete variance in how you want to advance your particular character over time. And so he talks about how he would convert a D&D player into a Runequest player's stats, essentially. And that is it for Doombook of Chaos, number 1. This is a really fun fanzine. Like I said, it seems like it's probably from 1981. Certainly not any later than that, maybe late 1980, can't say for sure. But this is the first of 6, so we'll settle in here and we'll do the Doombook of Chaos 2 through 6 in upcoming weeks. This one's a lot of fun. I hope you guys are enjoying the channel. Hope you're subscribed. Ask your friends to subscribe if you think they would like our content. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Have a great weekend, and until next time, keep rolling 20s.